So which of these two devices have you got? On the left, we've got the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4, and then on the right, we've got the newer Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now, I have a background of using Samsung devices for a very long time. I've always been, I might be what you might call a Note user. I've always had a Note device when they come out. So what I thought I would do is just look at which of these two devices would give me similar experience and which one would I prefer. It's a tough decision because they all have their strengths. And as you know now, the S23 Ultra also has the S Pen. So you could argue that it's taken on the role of the traditional Note, but also, it's getting boxier. Just look and feel, it's getting to that level of trying to be a Note device. And as you already know, multitasking on here is just on another level. It carries all the features from before, but there are specific things I just wanted to highlight about this particular device, especially compared to this one, and then I'll talk about the Fold in a minute as well. So if I had to pick one thing that's changed on this device, which is also the reason why you might want to upgrade from previous versions, even the S22 Ultra, is the processor. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 made for Galaxy is a game changer. So there's absolutely no lag, as you would expect on this device. It's very, very smooth. The one thing that I can mention about the processor that's made all the difference is basically battery life. So you're getting about 10 or 10 plus screen hours, screen on time. That's consistent. So this thing is very, very good at conserving power. Easily the best device for that this year. So I quite like that bit. The other thing is they've just made some other refinements. As you know, when One UI got updated, lots of new features, lots of good things. You can stack, as you can see. You can now stack widgets and things like that. There's all sorts of things you can do. Multiple features, but that's not why you would pick this as the Note replacement. We talked about the Note line, and as you know, it had an S Pen, and they're trying to kind of bring all of that to this device. Over the past few versions, they've included the S Pen, originally without room for it in the device, but now, as you can see, we're getting to a stage where it's consistently on the device. This thing is boxy, so just like the Note device is designed that way, and it brings the best in terms of cameras as well. So this is a really, really good device in terms of holding. And as you know already, multitasking on this is on another level. I mean, if you already know these phones, there's no reason for me to go into every single thing. And the other stuff that you can do on it, just outside of usual multitasking. Like if I knock the back of this thing 3 times, I expect to see a calculator. And if I knock twice, I expect to see the Tesla app. And can you see how responsive that is as well? Really, really quick. So there's other things that you can do on here. But, the main thing when we talk about the old Note devices, the main thing that we like to describe is obviously use of the S Pen and the gestures and everything else that's on here. So it's things like being able to navigate your photos with a pen, take pictures with a pen, but also the writing itself and signing documents and things like that. But the main thing that people would describe around this is just this kind of thing, where you can multitask and open, I don't know, a couple of apps here. And then if you wanted to, you could also use this thing here to mimic what the Fold does. So if I do that, you can see I can add another here. So let's just put Bing on top here, floating. So there's 3. But can you see what the disadvantage is? When you start having lots of them, the screen real estate runs out very quickly. But that's not a problem, because usually people would only want to use a couple of apps at the same time. You might have an app that's multimedia or social media here, and you do your other stuff that you're doing over there at the top. So in traditional Note sense, this would be enough. But let's move on to the Fold. So this device comes with its own advantages in terms of particularly the bit where we left off on this one, which is that bit around multitasking. So not only are you getting the screen here, the real estate here, but once you open it, and I'll talk about this noise in a minute, but once you open it, you can see, I think it's roughly probably 60% bigger screen here. So you can throw in all those apps that we were looking at earlier. You can start to throw in, let me see something less controversial that I can open, maybe a calculator, and maybe YouTube, and maybe let's start putting in more stuff. Let's go here. Let's go, let's find something else here, maybe. What can we get here? Maybe internet, let's see. And already you can see, you can have 3 things like this here that still give you enough real estate on the screen. But this is the practical bit. You could still add bubbles, you could still add other floating apps here, and still have enough room to do other things here. So you can see the big advantage here. And I have to say, this is what I miss the most when I think about having this device. But it doesn't stop there. It's also got something I like to call the F factor. So F for foldable, flexible, flex mode, all of that kind of stuff. So usually when I have this around, let's say I'm in bed and I'm just wanting to watch something, I could just do that quite simply, and it sits there and I can watch something. Whereas this, I'll have to get a stand for it to be able to do a similar stunt. So I'll have to find a way of making this give me this. But the other thing is also, if I have a wireless charger, so let's assume this is the wireless charger right here. I can easily just sit this on the wireless charger and it will charge and I can still watch content here. But I can't do that with this. So again, I'll have to either get a standing charger that can go like that, and then it's on the back and it sits like that. It's just the flexibility. This is what I would call a versatile device. It has everything that you need in terms of, okay, they've thought about a particular kind of user, a person that views documents, a person that likes to, look at things at a bigger screen, maybe a person that games and wants to make use of this lovely big screen. Now, the disadvantages are obvious, is that this panel is nowhere near the quality of the front panel here. So if you are that kind of person where that matters, you have to think about things like that. But in terms of just finding a particular user, and I would argue the people that were note users, in trying to make their lives even better, I think I am tempted to go with this. Now, there's some reasons why you wouldn't want a fold, and I'll go through some of those just now. So the first thing is, it's bulky. Obviously, when you carry it like this, you can slide it into your pocket and it's fine, but you feel this, it's bulky and people will notice. Whereas if you had a phone, a normal usual phone like this, it's better. It's better for carrying around. That's what I mean. So the other thing that you don't have obviously here is the quality of the cameras. Now you will see on my channel, I recently shared a couple of shorts around the zoom capability on this thing. That's not actually the best feature that I use quite a lot. So one of the things I use a lot on this, on the Ultra, is the 10x optical zoom here. The fold only goes up to 3x. Of course you can get 10x, but that's digital. But it goes optically it goes up to 3x. So that's practical. I mean, a usual person can get nice photos from this and conducive for social media and things, but they wouldn't be able to match what this can do. It's really, really great at taking great pictures at a distance, but also don't forget the 200 megapixel camera. I believe on here we've got up to 50 megapixels. But I will ask you the question about how many times have you used the 200 megapixel camera on your phone? Remember, they both can do 8K video recording, although I think on here it's probably 30 frames per second or something like that, and then 24 here. I have never used 8K recording. So that's another thing I'm actually going to be trying out, but I've never needed to use it. And the fact that it takes so much storage, I see that the only time I might need to use it if I'm recording something where I want to take, you can snip some pictures out of it. So you take a 4K video, and you can stop at a particular point and snap that as a photo, and it comes out with all the detail. That's one thing I think is a use case that I might have for. Anyway, let's look back at the Fold, because I was trying to tell you about some of the reasons why you might not want it, and I said it's bulky, first of all. Secondly, this thing is flimsy. You have to be a particular kind of person who looks after it. So my original Fold 4, you probably saw on the channel, was burgundy, that type of color. This is something I bought used from somebody else. And listen to this noise here. So each time you open it, there's a crunchy, crispy sound that comes out of here, as if you're pulling apart Velcro. I can't quite, and I've seen that it's a common thing. It's all over the internet. There's some people that are getting it. Now, I don't know if that's to do with the user of the device. And I say that because, as you can see, I don't know if you can see here, the front screen is all scratched or marked. So I know it wasn't well looked after. I look after my devices better than this. But one thing you have to know is, if you're going to have this device, you need to be an extra careful user. You need to have it kept in a case of some kind, which makes it even bulkier. You need to make sure that this is always got a screen protector, which it does, comes from factory with that anyway. But the other thing you need to do is take special care of this. You need to use the pen that's prescribed for it. So the Fold Edition, that's the pen that you need for this. Let me see if I can show you where it says Fold Edition. There you go. So you need to actually use the pen that's designated for that screen. It is very flimsy, and the hinge is, as you know, these devices are fairly new, so there's a bit of speculation that comes with this, and an element of wanting to try out new things. When you take a device like this that's going through iteration, you're taking a certain level of risk. So that's one of the things that you have to think about when you get a Fold. And obviously, when you drop something like this, it's probably not going to be, easy to fix in terms of expense. So you might want some type of insurance, as you would with all devices. But this might leave you more out of pocket than this if you didn't insure these things and you had to all of a sudden fix them. So having said all that as well, as you can see, there's nowhere to put the S Pen in here, and I use my S Pen regularly. The only other thing I will probably mention as a disadvantage is that the S Pen that comes with the Fold, this Fold Edition, is not Bluetooth linked, so you won't be able to do gestures and things like that you might otherwise be able to do here. But obviously, it's you can get the S Pen Pro, which is huge. It's even bigger than this here, which is my Surface Pen. You may see that the video gets a bit jittery. It's because I'm recording on a Surface Book, and it's also got a hinge that is movable. So each time I move, I might be moving the video. So apologies about that. But you can see that if you were to get the S Pen Pro, which is bigger than this and thicker than that pen there, you would then have to carry it separately elsewhere. So that is another thing you have to bear in mind when you use this. And I mentioned it earlier, but just the processor alone makes the S23 Ultra the winner. I have never seen such smoothness that I'm getting on the S23 Ultra since I used an iPhone. It's that level of quality. It's that level of precision, that level of no lag. Just, you want your device to respond when you do stuff, and that's what it does. I showed you earlier as I was knocking at the back here to get the apps. That is the level of responsiveness you're getting with the Ultra device. But I know that the innovation is only developing, and a Fold will get that to that level as well. But certainly for myself, I think currently for the things I do, I would find the Fold much more of a healthier alternative in terms of what I do day to day. This device was created for people that have a specific need. So it's that flexibility of, okay, I can have it in a certain way, I can open it a certain way, and I can consume content. It's got people with social media in mind, in terms of anywhere you can open it and watch something, and you don't have to be holding it. But also real estate, as we talked about the screen. Then we talked about multitasking, which is excellent on the Ultra, but enhanced on the Fold, because you get much more screen and you're not having to squint your eyes to kind of try and find things on there. So that's my verdict. I would be interested to hear what yours are. Remember also that in terms of charging, I believe it's 45 watts here and maybe 25 on the Fold. But what I found with those two things is that if they were both at 0, probably the Ultra will get to 50% first and faster. But by the time they get to 100%, the time difference would not matter. Basically, it will be similar in terms of times of completing to 100%. So if you're the person that likes to get from 0 to 30, 0 to 50 very quick, you need a 45 watt charging plus or higher, device. But if you're somebody who's content with, in the same time, you'll get to 100% with this. It doesn't make a difference. But what the Fold really needs, I've talked about, particularly things around the battery itself. So this gives you half the battery life. You may be using something like 70% open, 70% in this nature, and 30 in this nature. Yeah, you will still barely get through a day with a Fold. But this Fold is much better than the Fold 3 in terms of battery life. That's another thing I found. So I'll leave it to you. Let's know in the comments section what you think, which device have you got and why. But my particular rationale is that there is a great device in terms of top spec, best device in every category, if you like. But then there is a device that's made with a particular user in mind, and it offers you the flexibility that is unmatched. So on that bombshell, I'll leave it there. Have a great day.